All right, it is 5:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started, and I'll call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody to our regular board meeting of Vancouver Public Schools. Before we get started, just a few thoughts and reminders. We do expect those in attendance to conduct themselves in a respectful way. Interruptions can make it difficult for us to stay focused, so if you do have an immediate need, we ask that you not interrupt, but you can move to the back and let somebody know if there's an audio issue or some other need that you have. Also, as a reminder, there's a designated space for any video recording or media. We do want our boardroom to be a welcoming, safe space for all and any of our community members and guests. We want anybody who attends our meetings or anyone who addresses the board to feel like they can do so no matter who else is in attendance. That is the reason why we have asked in the past for our audience to refrain from clapping, cheering, or commenting while others give public comment, whether you are in support of or against. We do recognize there are diverse beliefs and feelings across our stakeholders in our district, but one thing we have in common is that we want to do what is best for our children, and we are here today to work towards their future. With that being said, we are going to get started with our business meeting. And first up is roll call. Director Sproul. Here. Director Zavala. Here. And then we do have Director Decker, who is attending virtually tonight.
I am here.
Oh, I think she said here, but I don't think we heard her. We saw her.
Oh. I'm
and
here.
So we have 4 of us in attendance. Director Smith is not with us tonight, but we do have quorum, so we can continue with our meeting. First up on our agenda is superintendent report. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Snow.
Thank you, Director Barrows. Let's get things loaded up here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending. We appreciate your participation this evening. A few items that I wanted to just give a brief update on it and then get into a little bit of content tonight. The first is an ongoing investigation regarding one of our employees, and we communicated out last week about that situation and are continuing to work with Clark County Sheriff's Office regarding that. And as we get more information, we'll share with the community as appropriate. And again, just our apologies that we're in this situation, and recognize the trust that the community places in us. And when something like this happens, it's definite disruption to that trust. And so we're going to work with our partners in law enforcement and make sure that we are accountable to the outcomes of that investigation. We have a number of committee opportunities that are coming up in the near future. One is a highly capable committee and a family advisory. And so we're just getting those sites ready as landing pages on our district site and sending out information about that. I know the board is really interested in engaging our community in different ways. And so these are structures that we haven't used in the recent past, and we're excited about these opportunities moving forward. And then unfortunately, we still do have some staffing concerns related to our classified staff, in particular, our nutrition services team, our transportation team, and the support that's provided to our special education programs. We continue to have openings that we cannot fill. And then on any given day, shortages of people who are absent. So really appreciate everybody's rallying around those and trying to make those services as interrupted as possible for our community, but also recognize that it has caused some interruptions and disruptions. Short budget update. As we talked about last time, our first enrollment projections were up 700 FTE compared to what we budgeted. It is still pretty early in that process, and so over time that could affect our budget, but just in a month, it's kind of maybe too soon to tell. And then we do have ongoing conversations related to the replacement levy. And in our meeting next November, the board will be asked to consider a resolution to place a measure on the ballot for February 14th, 2023 that replaces an expiring levy. Based on the feedback that we've heard to date, it looks like we're going for a 4-year term to this levy, and the legal limit for us to ask stakeholders is $2.50 per $1,000 of assessed value. The McCleary rates peaks were 201 back in 2021 with a total school tax rate of 371. And what we've heard from you as directors is looking at a rate under $2 and a total school tax rate of under $3.50. And so ultimately, that resolution will be up for your approval in November, and then we will place it on the ballot. And then that starts another kind of series of engagement with our community about information about that levy. Any questions about that? Okay. On the student learning front, on the study session, October 25th, we're going to dive a little deeper into this, but the state assessment scores have been released. And so wanted to give a preview of this information to you. As you can see, this is looking back to 2016, and it's looking at the state ELA assessments, the state math assessments, and the state science assessments. And those are one indicator of how our schools are performing, our students are performing relative to their peers across the state. And you can see the impact of COVID. You'll see a drop in the 2020. And then there's a note that the fall, we actually took an assessment in the fall instead of the spring. So there's a little bit of an abnormality there. And then we're back on a cycle with last spring. So our students actually took 2 assessments last year to kind of catch up with that. When we look at these numbers, obviously we want blue all the way to the top, 100% of our students meeting standard in these areas. And it's important to kind of give context to those assessments as well and look across the state and districts that are similar to us and how are they performing on these same assessments. And so this first part of the graph is the state. So all the students across the state and the data that they have for all grade levels that take the assessment. And then Vancouver is here, our partners Evergreen, and then districts that are similar size across the state are across the data, the table here. And so you can see that there's some districts that are performing relatively well compared to us. I'm sure that they want 100% as well. And then there are districts that are performing a little below us. And so it's all just context, I guess, for the larger picture of how do we help support our students as we come out from some pretty significant changes in their learning structures over the last several years. Some other, if we look a little even more broadly, there are some reports that look at how students are performing across the country. And this was a recent report by the Northwest Education Association. And it's just looking at how different groups of students are performing. And you can see that those scores have dropped across groups, but in particular, our students of color have been affected pretty significantly as we look at the data. I apologize in the audience. I know the slides are pretty small for you. Like I said, on October 27th, in the study session, we'll do a deeper dive looking at some of our more formative assessment. Those are once a year more summative. And so we want to look at that data and look at it from a student learning academics and also the student experience as we survey our students about their experiences in schools. And then also taking a standards-based approach when we look at that data. So how are students performing on the standards within a certain grade level relative to the content that we're looking at. So more to come on October 27th, and that is a Zoom session. So for audience members, it's much easier to see the slides as well as you look at your own device and monitor that. We have been investing quite a bit of time in strategic planning. And so I just want to give an update because we're going to start launching some opportunities here in the near future. And this is, the board has asked us to embark on a 5-year process. And so looking at where we want to be, obviously today, but also looking with an eye to the future. This is the timeline that was shared at a previous meeting, and I just kind of keep bringing it back to you. The goal is to engage the community in the fall and winter, do some analysis of that engagement, and then look at drafting a plan in the late spring, summer, and then coming back about this time of year, maybe even in September, to have a formal adoption of the plan from the board. This gives us a chance to do a lot of different layers of outreach, and I'll talk about that a little more as we move forward. So as a whole, the board's talked about really making sure that we do a good job of going out and engaging the community where they're at. And so the first step of that is just to listen and think about the different voices that maybe we haven't had an opportunity to hear from as frequently. And then once we've had that opportunity is to really empower a broader group of people into action related to those goals and priorities. And then thirdly, use that opportunity to build relationships. The process of a strategic plan, usually happens one every 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years or something. The goal is that those processes that we learn during the plan are processes that we carry out throughout the lifespan of the plan. So when we're going out and engaging community, we might do that as a part of the strategic plan development, but then we want to continue to do that afterwards to monitor the progress of the plan. We're thinking about this from different layers of data. And so the first layer is just thinking about broadly, big picture, what input does the community have? We're using some different kinds of survey tools to do that. So anybody could just offer their perspective. I'll show you in a little bit the landing page that has those opportunities for the community, and those are open throughout. We sent some of those surveys out in the spring, and some people have already weighed in on that, and we'll continue to provide opportunities for folks to do so. The second layer is more specific to a relationship. So opportunities for people to come together and maybe learn together, and then take maybe specific survey questions or interviews or things like that, where we can go a little deeper with the feedback and maybe inform the themes at a different level. And then the third layer of the data is once we've analyzed those first two layers, like what are we missing? Who haven't we heard from yet? What do we want to learn more about? And really targeting intentional groups or intentional focus areas to understand what the community thinks about those ideas and how we might move those to priorities. Across the bottom of the screen are ways that we're going to organize the data. So the first way is just thinking about what we want for each of our graduates, the experiences, the learning that we want, and a description. It really, our hope is that turns into almost like a promise to our community that each graduate leaves us with these sets of skills and dispositions. The other areas of how we're going to organize the data to inform that. So when you think about access, engagement, support, and partnership, so all the feedback that comes in, how do we start to collect that in a way that allows people to make sense of it? You can imagine if we just have 30,000 data points without trying to draw some conclusions with those or organize it in a certain way, it makes it really difficult for people to make sense of it. In terms of making sense of it, we've created a lot of different groups to weigh in on the data and provide input. And so at the heart of this is a strategic planning advisory group that really is going to be almost like a steering committee to kind of process the work and kind of keep us on track. And then there's a series of advisory groups that surround that steering committee, which includes the student advisory that you heard a little bit about in our last meeting. We have a community leaders advisory group, which will be meeting on Thursday. We are developing a family advisory group. And we are developing a staff advisory group. And so all 4 of those teams are going to come together and look at the data that comes in for the strategic planning process, offer their own feedback on that, and then start to prioritize things and then push that towards the steering committee. We also have some existing committees that have been in place that we'll use as well. The Equity Advisory Committee has been meeting for a number of years, and so they will also process that information and inform the steering committee. And then also the VPS leadership team, the cabinet, you as a board, and me as superintendent. This is the landing page that we currently have. Strategic planning, one of the things that you said is isn't necessarily the most engaging phrase. And so we worked with stakeholders to try to understand, well, maybe what might grab people's attention and we'll have them want to be a part of this. And so we're really talking about writing our story collectively. And on this website, there's also a series, you can see these tiles here that represent that timeline that I showed you earlier, the different stages that we'll go through together. And then this page also has those surveys that I talked to you about. So at any time, anybody can get in there and share their perspectives. These are the questions that are on the landing page now. I would anticipate over the process of this next 12 months that these questions might change and evolve based on what we're hearing from the community, and they might be getting more narrow, or they might go more general, just depending on what we're hearing. And I think that's all I have this evening around the strategic planning process, and all I have for the superintendent's report. So if there are any other questions or comments, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Thank you for that. Yeah. All right, moving along on our agenda. Next on the agenda, we do have Board of Directors report. There's a couple of things that are have gone on and are going on in our community. And one of the things that happened last weekend was the WASDA General Assembly. And I'm going to have Director Zavala share an update from that.
Hi, everyone. Last week we had our Washington State School Directors Association Annual General Assembly, and our directors discussed the pros and cons of about 70 different propositions, positions. So we updated or added or subtracted on the contents of what WASDA will present for the legislative time. I was able to participate for General Assembly for a little bit. I had to travel for work, so I wasn't able to be as present as I hoped. But my biggest takeaway for the General Assembly was the conversations that the directors had, and the dialogue between the pros and the cons. That even if we don't agree, there was still, I felt like, very respectful conversations, and just very informative, at least for me, for being my first time being at General Assembly. And I'm really looking forward to next year to be able to participate, hopefully, for the entire thing. So that was it.
And thank you for going and representing us. Also, I wanted to just make our community aware that tomorrow night we have the dedication of one of our new school buildings, VITA, and that is at 6:30, I believe, 6:30. So our community is invited to participate in that. That is our new elementary school. So we'll be having the dedication and then tours. I know a lot of people are excited to kind of get in there and see what VITA looks like. So you guys are all welcome to attend at 6:30 tomorrow. With that, I think we are done with Board of Directors reports, unless there's anything else. So now we are going to move into audience participation. So the audience participation portion of our meeting is where we have public comments. And so public comments, this is the time in our meeting where board and staff like to hear comments from the public. If you wish to address the board and did not have the opportunity, thank you, to sign in at the start of the meeting, please do so now. There's a sign up at a back table. Because most matters do require fact finding and review, the board is not able to respond to any public comments made at this time. Additionally, the state's Open Public Meetings Act restricts deliberation on topics that have not been placed on the publicly noticed agenda in advance. If follow-up action is necessary, the board will ask the superintendent to work with administrative staff to consider the information and respond accordingly. As a regular business meeting of the board, we do expect the audience to conduct themselves professionally and courteously. Additionally, speakers are expected to be respectful. The board asks that personnel complaints be submitted in writing. Disruptive conduct may cause the meeting to be adjourned and audience members to be removed. We'd ask that you approach the podium, which is over here, and state your name for the record and also your affiliation with the district. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. If you hear a chime, please conclude your remarks. If you have materials or additional comments that you would like the board to review, please hand them to staff in the back of the boardroom. This information will be provided to the superintendent and board. The board appreciates, listens, and cares about the broad range of perspectives in our community, and we thank you for your comments. Tonight, we do not have any virtual public comments, so we will move to our in-person comments. And first on the list is Allison Sundwall.
Hi, so my name's Allison Sundwall, and I am a parent of some students here in VPS, and I'm also a school district employee. And I'm here continuing to advocate for our highly capable students. And we're so thankful for the stakeholder work that's being done with families as the district is reviewing the services for elementary students. I would like to bring up that our teachers are also stakeholders in this, and we hope that their voices are being sought as well. They are experts, and we are so lucky to have them in our district, and their perspectives are very valuable. So I really hope that they can be a part of that process. And also, as we are looking at elementary, I'm wondering if there is space for us to look at how we are providing services to our middle school students as well. Because to be in compliance with Washington state law, once a student's identified as highly capable, our state defines that a basic education for them is both accelerated and enhanced. And it also stipulates that there be a continuum of services. So if there are no accelerated options for all sixth grade high cap students to have access to, then our district would not be in compliance with that law. And it's also doing a great disservice to those students. And I know some folks might be tired of hearing about high cap and why are we still talking about the smart kids? But I hope that we keep in mind that this is a special needs population of students and that these students are present in every single demographic group, and that they will not be able to be successful without the proper supports in place. So thank you very much for your time and for all the work that you guys have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Next on the list is Peter Lubicic.
Hello, my name is Dr. Peter Lubicic. I'm a community member, McLaughlin parent of a 6th and 8th grader and a graduate of MAC. I want to address the 6th grade math curriculum. I do have some issues with the school district to bring to the board's attention. We, the parents of McLaughlin Middle School, have received no communication from the district regarding the changes to the math curriculum. Communication is paramount when change occurs, and to not inform the parent shows negligence and the need for change in district communications. A few parents sent emails asking about honors math and its place in the curriculum. The response, intentional or not, had a dismissive tone. Parents were informed that honors math had never been offered and thus confused them. To these parents, an honors math or accelerated pathway for math is just semantics, and the intention of their email was ignored. An accelerated pathway has been part of the middle school curriculum, as evidenced by my oldest son, who in 2017 was a 6th grader, and his report card shows that he was in Math 2 and received an A, with the advancement goal of algebra by 8th grade. He was then accepted into the IB program at Columbia River. The school district has an ethical responsibility to all students, present and future, to provide an optimum education or curriculum, Students should expect a year's growth in an academic year. In this current curriculum, students testing at grade 6.5 will be capped at a half year's growth, assuming the teachers are able to complete the entire 6th grade curriculum. The option has been offered to skip these students to Math 2-3, which starts at grade 7. But the irony of this situation cannot be overlooked. The new curriculum stresses the importance of 6th grade math, yet the option given to move students to an accelerated 7th grade math, they would have to skip the second half of 6th grade math. An accelerated pathway for Math 1 should be added so students can advance appropriately to Math 2-3. The pushback to this request has been, well, which students should go into Math 1-2, and the master schedule is already set. I know it's inconvenient to change schedules and gather information, but the already test data is available, and let's not overlook your single most valuable source of information, the 5th grade math teachers and elementary school principals. They are two excellent sources to determine eligibility. The issue must be addressed so that students of all levels of intellect can receive education commensurate with and above their abilities. Many families of means are removing their children from VSD because the district's inability to challenge students of all capabilities. This is educational elitism at its finest. I'm here to speak for families in our area that can't address the board because their schedules won't allow, they're intimidated to speak, or they don't have the means to be here. But I'm also here to speak about the inequity that is being created in my own family. My daughter, whose iReady test score shows that she's at a 6.5 grade level, will now not have the same opportunity as her brothers. How is this equitable? Life teaches us it can be difficult and hard to do the right thing. That is why the narrow path is the path less traveled.
Thank you, Peter. Next on the list is Michelle Lubasich.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Lubasich, and I'm here speaking again to you this month because my concerns about our math pathways still remain. I agreed that the sixth grade curriculum was important to our students, and it would help them in their future math classes. I also presented to you, as well as other parents, that unfortunately our students were receiving math well below their grade level. Here we are today, 6 weeks into our school year, and the Math 1 class is still reviewing. However, I looked into the situation and here's what I found. The SBA from 2021 shows that 62% of the sixth grade students are at level 1. That means they're at least 3 grades below grade level. 22% are at the 4th and 5th grade level, meaning a combined total of 84% are performing under the 6th grade level. How do you teach to these kids as well as given ample time to those that are at and above grade level? Wouldn't our teachers' time be better served teaching a class period to students at the same academic level? By creating just one of the 10 classes at MAC to be an accelerated class, these high cap honors and advanced math students could be excelling rather than continuing to review. After meeting with our school's principal and district administrator, they came to the conclusion from my daughter's iReady tests that she should be placed in Math 2-3. So how is she and the other students in her same situation supposed to get the second half of the 6th grade curriculum they need while being in a 7th and 8th grade class? Does this not contradict the whole premise of the change to math pathways for 6th graders? And why is it that the 6th graders at ITech bypass Math 1 and go directly into Math 2 if this curriculum is so vital to all 6th graders? I'm asking you as the board to please look into this now. I know that making changes can be made for next year, but this isn't right for our current 6th graders who have already spent 6 weeks in a class well below their grade level. I wish I could just let this go and that I wasn't so passionate about these kids and their educations. But after volunteering for 10 years at Marshall, I've gotten to know these kids since they were kindergartners. And I too am a product of the public school system and one of their many success stories. Growing up with an abusive father and later a single mom who worked 2 jobs, my brother and I could have easily fallen through the cracks, just like these students. But they identified us as gifted and talented and made sure we got a great education. And because of them, I can stand before you all today and proudly say that my brother and I were the first generation college graduates. It was a life-changing experience. They didn't fail us, and now I believe that it is equally important that we don't fail these kids. They deserve better than what we are offering them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Next on the list is Leah Bay.
Good evening. My name is Leah Bay, and I've been working closely with the community members regarding the change in the math pathways. Again, as a parent myself, I still am saddened by the lack of communication in such a drastic change that was made. At this point in time, there still has been no mention of the change in math. This means that stakeholders didn't have any voice in the decisions made. I just can't express enough how disappointing that is as a parent and taxpayer. Upon receiving information from the district, we have learned how many kids per school were placed in accelerated math. Alki 2, Discovery 2, Geyser 1, Jason Lee 4, Jefferson 5, McLaughlin 0, but they say 1. However, this student didn't qualify per the EOC test. The parent fought for her to be in there. I ask you all, how is this equitable? Why are we not allowing the kids who are interested and wanting to be in these classes in them? How does one test determine if a child gets accelerated math? We know this is not working based on teachers asking the counselors if there's any way they can move these higher students out to Math 2 because their classes are working so below these students' level. Lastly, if the 6th grade curriculum was such an important foundation and building block, why are the 6th graders at iTech channeled into Math 2? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Leah. Next on the list, we have Brooke Dietz.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Dietz. I'm a mom of 2 kiddos in VPS. And I'm also part of the newly formed Vancouver High Cap Community Association. We are a nonprofit and we are now official, and we have a website, vancouverhighcap.com. If you guys haven't checked it out, I suggest you do. We advocate for grades K through 12, highly capable students throughout the district. I want to say thank you for the slide presentation and all the upcoming opportunities for the community to get involved. I think that is very noble. I think it's necessary. And I think all the community members, especially the parents, are looking forward to these opportunities, myself being one of them. Particularly, I want to say we're interested in the highly capable committee. We saw some information today that how to get involved on their landing page. There's some information on there. And a lot of parents that I know are looking forward to that process and are looking forward to getting involved. So I will be pointing people there, and we are looking forward to having our voices heard. And I want to reiterate the fact that I hope the teachers' voices will be heard in that as well. I think they're the ones in the thick of it, not just our students, but they see the growth and the change in the kids day to day. They've seen what's happened in the past, and they're looking forward to the future just as much as the parents are. So I would really hope that the teachers will have some feedback, or their voices can be heard as part of that committee. Also, I was reading, if they don't get chosen for a committee, is there another way where the parents can put in feedback? I don't know if that has been sought or thought out, but just know that lots of voices are important than just a few. Also, I would like to reiterate that we are advocating for grades, not just 3 through 5 in the High Cap Association, but all grades, especially middle school. I know there's been some talk this year about the 6th grade honors classes not being offered at certain schools, and some things do it differently, but I've been told that now they are offered across the board now, and we're very thankful for that for the students. So thank you for listening to the voices of the parents and bringing those classes back. We look forward to working with you guys and hearing more voices and doing what's best for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Next, we have Brooklyn Lubicic.
Hello, my name is Brooklyn Lubicic, and I'm a 6th grader at McLaughlin Middle School. I wanted to share with you what we have done in class so far this year. We've begun with double-digit addition and then did multiplication timetables. We have moved on after doing least common multiples and greatest common factors. Typically, when I go to class, my teacher teaches about 15 minutes, and then I complete the worksheet in about 5 minutes. And then I spend the rest of my class period talking with my friends and playing games on my school computer. I feel bad for my teacher because she seems so overwhelmed, and the students really just don't care. Thank you for listening to me today.
Hello, my name is Casey Hutton.
I'm a sixth grade student in McLaughlin Middle School. Middle schools have been teaching students like us elementary all over again. For example, in math, we are currently learning fact families, simple multiplication, and division, which we learned in elementary. School is supposed to teach us what we don't know already and help us in the future. Schools should split up classes so that the students that are at a higher level learn at the level they should be in, and the students that are struggling get to a class that has a lower pace in learning. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you. Next on the list, we have Katie Bauer.
Hi, Katie Bauer, community member. Really quick, apparently as of October 31st, Inslee will lift the emergency orders edict. And I would just like to know, hopefully you can answer at some point, if the VPS board can let the community know through multiple forms of communication, whether VPS will or will not be lifting the mandatory vaccine requirements for volunteers. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Next, we have Sally Snyder.
Hi, my name is Sally Snyder. Last year, a parent brought up pornography in the Vancouver schools to the board, actually twice, before it was looked into, why kids were able to access it on school-provided electronic devices. Today, I'd like to talk about another form of pornography in the Vancouver schools, posters and books. This poster is on the wall in Thomas Jefferson Middle School for 11-year-olds. It says terms you need to know. Women attracted to women and men attracted to men. Are our 11-year-olds men and women? What is the school trying to teach these 11-year-olds? This book, I Am Jazz. I'll read a little bit about the book. I have a girl brain, but a boy body. This is called transgender. I was born this way. Being jazz caused some other people to be confused too, like the teachers at school. At the beginning of the year, they wanted me to use the boys' bathroom and play in the boys' team in gym class, but that didn't feel normal. This is okay to read to 5-year-olds? This book is at Anderson, King, Marshall, Roosevelt, and Truman. Why is this book at certain schools but not other schools? And I'm wondering who decides what books are at what schools. This book is called Gender Queer. It looks like a comic book. I'll read a little bit from the book. We've been dating for 2 months. We've made out, we've had sex. We've moved on to sexting at work. I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. Will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Another page in the book. There's a picture of a naked man kneeling down and cupping the genitals of a standing naked boy. Is this okay for 13-year-olds? Same pornography is on electronic devices. This book is at Columbia River High School. I'd like it removed. If not, if you could inform me why you want to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Next on the list, we have Casey Hutton. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. And then last we have Kathy Carr.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Carr. I'm a citizen of Clark County and also of Vancouver, and I'm a grandparent. And it's really difficult to get a lot of interest in anything today. And the only member of the board that seems truly interested tonight is Tracy. I don't know what each one of you are doing, but you don't have your attention on the speakers tonight. And so it makes me feel, as well as other people, what's the point? Are you catching up on work because you've been out of town? But if I'm going to take 3 minutes, you could take 3 minutes of your time as well. And I want your attention. So Jeff, tonight you apologized to the group here tonight for what came up with the cameras. An apology is saying you recognize the behavior, you understand it, and it won't happen again. What the parents are bringing to you tonight and over the past months is issues that they've found very concerning, very factual. And we don't want apologies in the future on those because it's not acceptable, because you understand what is going on. And so you're making a decision, or the group behind you, to move forward with whatever decision that's the outcome was. The assessment that you put on the board tonight, number one, to keep people engaged, the print was very small and we were sitting close. It was hard to define what those numbers were. You, Vancouver School District is underperforming, and as you went across the board, you stated that, well, some are performing relatively well. Well, relatively well is still underperforming. And I wanted the audience, and plus it, to go out there to the parents tonight that we are in sad shape on performance across the board in all schools. You mentioned that you have a strategic plan. You said we have a strategic plan, and I'd like to know who the we is and where that starts with, because we haven't been part of that strategic plan. When you sent out a survey, you said you got response on that. How many were surveyed? What's the number of responses? Because that's the thing, is to get everybody involved and to want to be involved. Look at this room tonight. We're all busy, but this room would be standing room only if people felt their voices were being heard and actions were being taken. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't believe was there any signups during? Okay. All right. That is the end of our audience participation section of our meeting. Next on the agenda, we are moving into some of our action items. First on the list is approval of minutes. So these are minutes from our September board meetings. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, we will move to a vote. Director Sproul?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve.
And Director Decker?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve, so the motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have our consent agenda items. These are items that have been previously discussed around instructional and administrative support. And I believe there are also fiscal support services for items on our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, we will move to a vote. Director Sproul?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve.
Director Decker?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve, so the motion passes. And that is the end of our action items that we have. We already went through our board reports, so we don't have any other items on our agenda. Now we are going to recess. The board is going to recess into executive session for the purpose of personnel to discuss the performance of a public employee. There will be no action to follow. So when we return, we will just be adjourning. With that, we are recessed. Thank you. Oh, 45 minutes, 45 minutes. Okay, with that, we are recessed. Thank you. Thank you all for attending. I'm gonna sit in here. All right, welcome back. We are finished with our executive session. It is 7:27 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
So I asked that he stay today.